We all saw the news during draft weekend. DeAndre Swift was traded to his hometown to play for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I thought it'd be fun to look back over DeAndre Swift's short 3-year career with the Detroit Lions and see, was it overall good, was it overall bad, or was it pretty much a mid 3 seasons? One thing before I start, I feel like there was some people that were salty about DeAndre Swift asking to be traded after the Lions brought in Gibbs and before that they'd brought in Montgomery, but I kind of understand it. Your team just brought in a new round 1 running back. They just brought in another running back during free agency. You're kind of looking at the situation like, man, I'm pretty much a running back 3 at this point. Swift was probably thinking to himself, I'm not going to be playing much. I'd like to be in a team that's going to use me, and he asked for the trade. Now, some people looked at it and said, hey, if you're asking for a trade because you're not starting anymore, why not just work harder to earn the starting spot? But with Swift's scenario, no matter how hard he worked, there was no way he was going to take Gibbs or Montgomery's spot. The only way he takes one of their spots is if one of them goes down with an injury. And if one of the 3 running backs were to get injured, it'd most likely be Swift. And Brad Holmes did him right. He sent him to his hometown, Philadelphia. Of course, Swift would probably want to go to Philly, his hometown. And also the Eagles are unstoppable and have an incredible offensive line. Not the dog on the Lions offensive line, but if Swift can't play for the Lions, he probably still wants to be on a solid NFL team. And what a better team to be on than the Eagles. And the Lions receiving only 1 pick for Swift, a 2025 4th rounder. It's fine. I believe Brad Holmes just wanted to send Swift probably where he wanted to go, Philadelphia. And I believe some people were pretty upset that the Lions only received a 4th round pick for DeAndre Swift. I mean, I don't really think there was anything wrong with just receiving a 4th round pick. First, Brad Holmes sent him to Philadelphia. I don't think Philadelphia would have probably offered up much more, but what else would you have wanted for DeAndre Swift? Like a 3rd round pick, a 2nd round pick? I don't really think DeAndre Swift's worth that. He's injury prone and obviously didn't have an amazing 3 seasons with the Lions. I'll be getting into that later in this video. How much more would you really want for Swift though? I think a 4th round pick is fine. At this point, the Lions just kind of wanted to get rid of Swift. Like there was not really a big need for him. It would have been nice to keep him around, but if he's asking for a trade, you might as well just send him away. Only 1 more year in his rookie contract. It's unlucky. I really like Swift, but he wanted to be traded, and I understand it. It's the same thing that happened with Okudah. The Lions signed Mosley, Sutton, Sauce Gardner, and Okudah asked for a trade. Sure, you could say Okudah just didn't want to work hard to earn the starting role, and there's a chance he may have been able to work hard enough to earn it, but there comes to a point when these players, you just know how much better you're going to get probably, and Okudah knew, I'm not going to be playing. Back to DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift was drafted by Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia in early 2022 with the 35th overall pick in the 2nd round. Looking at DeAndre Swift's rookie season, it was decent. He started out the season receiving about 1/3 of the snaps throughout the first 6 games. He was sharing snaps with Adrian Peterson. Most notably, the Week 1 loss against Chicago. Everyone remembers, I assume everyone remembers, I personally remember it. It still haunts me to this day. The Lions took a strong lead against the Bears. It's the 2nd half. They're up by, I believe, like 2 touchdowns, maybe 3 scores. And I was like really excited. I was like, wow, it's a great start to the season. I'm just going to chill and watch the rest of this game. The Lions are going to win. The Bears come back. Time to stress. Matt Stafford gets the ball. Not much time's remaining. Drives down the field. He throws in the end zone. DeAndre Swift puts his hands out and drops the game-winning touchdown. It's just another thing the Lions fans have to live with, though. I don't blame Swift. I blame Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn fully. They definitely cursed the Lions, and there was no way Swift would have ever caught that touchdown, no matter how open he was, because of Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. Anyway, continuing on with DeAndre Swift's rookie season, after the Week 5 bye in Week 6, he had his breakout game against Jacksonville. He rushed for 116 yards on 14 attempts and 2 touchdowns. The next few weeks, Swift was alright, but he definitely showed he was stronger than Adrian Peterson, and finally in Week 9, he was named the starter. But sadly after that, Swift came down with concussion-like symptoms and was out for the next 3 games. He did come back and start 3 out of the final 4 games of the season and had pretty solid production to end off his rookie season. Overall, Swift's rookie season was alright. He had some decent production, averaging 4.57 yards a carry, But overall, he only really had one big game, and against Washington he also did rush for 81 yards on 16 attempts. But besides those two outings, he was pretty average. The team wasn't really built well at all, so it's not really a lot of the blame is on Swift. But just overall, it was an average rookie season. No doubt his 3 games he missed definitely hurt his development, and that would become a theme with DeAndre Swift through his Detroit Lion career. Moving to DeAndre Swift's sophomore season, before the season started, everyone knew that DeAndre Swift would be the running back 1 for Detroit, or that he was going to be the man in the backfield. And I feel like expectations were pretty high. A lot of people had DeAndre Swift rushing for over 1,000 yards, and maybe he would have got there if he wasn't injured, but he definitely didn't live up to his sophomore expectations. Weeks 1 through 8 were rough for Swift. His production was pretty low, even though he was getting a solid amount of carries. And then in weeks 9 and 10, he really had his big breakout for back-to-back 100+ rushing games. But sadly, that streak would end as the very next game, he would be injured against the Bears. Swift then missed 4 games and then would have a decent last 2 games of the season, but missing those 4 games just after seeming like he was really breaking out with back-to-back 100+ rush games. Really unlucky. Overall, Swift's sophomore season was decent statistically, and with the eye test watching him play, it was an improvement from his rookie season, but not anything too drastic. The main takeaway was that again, Swift missed a good chunk of games due to injury. During the 2021 season, Swift was the worst running back in the NFL when running between the tackles, but we know that's not what Swift was used for. He's not a run up the gut type of guy. He's a guy that you want to get in space, as he was the best running back when running to the left. And that's just where Swift thrives, out in space. With his explosive speed and his moves, he can make guys miss, but up the gut, he's just not as good. He has a decent size, but it's just not his specialty, and especially with all of his injuries, you definitely don't want to be sending him up the middle on multiple plays in a row. Moving to Swift's final season with Detroit, his 3rd season in the NFL. Again, it was a decent season, definitely his best season by far, but he was again limited by his injuries. It was his 3rd season in the NFL, and it was his 3rd season in the NFL where he couldn't stay healthy throughout the full season. And even though he only missed 3 games, which isn't a ton, he was still limited even in the games that he played due to his shoulder and ankle injuries. Swift started his 3rd season in Detroit hot with 144 yards on opening day against Philadelphia, and then continued to week 2 pretty good, rushing for over 50 yards against Washington, but after that he would decline throughout the rest of the season after he injured his ankle, and then would only rush for over 50 yards 2 more times. And throughout the rest of the season, Swift's past shoulder and ankle injuries would continue to bother him, as he was never 100%. Overall, DeAndre Swift's career with Detroit was alright, and if I had to grade it, I'd honestly grade it a C- or maybe even a D+, and it kind of pains me to say that as a Lions fan and a Swift lover. I'd love to hear everyone else's opinion on what you would grade Swift's career with Detroit. And I'm not even grading it a C- because he was drafted early 2nd round, and it's not even really his fault, but just his injuries. I feel like with Swift's injuries, he was never able to show his true self and become his full form in Detroit. Hopefully the injuries stop bothering him and he can continue to improve and hopefully have a full season in Philadelphia and really succeed. The hardest thing about it was seeing Swift make incredible moves, have explosive speed, and make game-changing plays, like his 3rd and 15 catch falling over the middle against Washington this season, getting up, making like 3 guys miss and scoring a touchdown. It sucked because everyone knew DeAndre Swift had so much potential. There was so much skill there. He just couldn't stay healthy and continued to fight these injuries. Overall, it was an alright career with Detroit. It was really fun from a fan perspective, but on a business level, it just wasn't really there. Hopefully he finds that in Philadelphia, and I think it was the right move to trade him. Let me know what you think.